Soon, ladies and gentlemen, soon. That is when the game is going to start, but it is going to start right now. That is what is happening. Dragonborns are 2-0 up over Meet Your Makers. You saw them on stage. They're ready to go. And, of course, there was a slight little hiccup there. You may have noticed, everyone at home, because you couldn't play the game either. Yep. The servers went down. It happens.
So, in theory, all of the problems have been resolved, and we'll be hoping to get this third and potentially heading game underway. Meet Your Makers will be looking to channel their inner Aranea, screaming like alternate and trying to bounce back to pick up the next 3. And Dragonborns, they have 3 games to pick up a win and guarantee their spot in the LCS Summer Splits.
Either way, we're expecting it to be a pretty feisty engagement, of course. Dragonborns, it took them a long time to get going, but they did pick up those 2 wins. More importantly, they did see some crazy aggression from the likes of Hosan once again, and we've actually seen Movet really stepping up in this matchup.
He's become a real threat, and I think maybe it is just the focus. Maybe it is just time to be playing, and you know, maybe it's their cool new golf shirts. Who knows what it is? But at the end of the day, they are playing phenomenally, and they are outclassing MYM at the moment. It's fairly dirty, sloppy play in certain circumstances, but they are coming out in the advantageous position. And the popular vote, 65% of the people still believe MYM will win.
Believe. Do you believe at home, ladies and gentlemen? Looks like Hosan believes. Shushay looks like he's going to have a look. We are still seeing the smiles on the faces of Meet Your Makers, smiling through adversity. They've been very close, honestly, but Kubon in that top lane, he's having problems, and they need to address that issue. Talked about how big these boys are. He's got some shoulders on him. Jesus Christ.
Well, we'll see whether or not he can use those shoulders to carry his team in the upcoming matches, because right now, it's all about the Dragonborns. Picks and bans are underway. We are live in match number 3.
Here we go. Xerath banned out, Twisted Fate taken away. They are completely shutting down Sharu. We talked about how he needs to put everyone on his back. Unfortunately, he's the smallest member of the team, so that's kind of tricky for him. Zed and Jarvan banned out. You know, it's funny because we were talking about during the break the fact that Yamato Cannon Zed, it's actually probably less than the champions he's had so far. His Aurelia was magnificent.
So in that case, if Yamato has upped his game on all of his champions, imagine how good his Zed's going to be now. We were discussing at length how he performed throughout the season and saying that he's never really lost his lane, you know, in a super hard fashion. And at the moment, the last 2 bans, Shen and Zach.
Yeah, it does mean Dragonborns are going to lock in Thresh, so Movet's going to be throwing out those hooks. And actually, it does look like they expected that one. They see Nautilus and Elise being locked straight in very quickly. Remember, these teams will have had a long time to discuss exactly what they want for this 3rd matchup.
So in terms of picks that are still remaining, Kha'Zix is still there if they wanted to go for it. In game number 1, we did see that Kha'Zix coming up MYM, but it didn't work to the best of their ability. We'll see what Dragonborns decide to go for. They could probably pick up a jungler now, with Nautilus being locked in as well as Jarvan taking away. Maybe going for something like a Nasus. Shen is no longer available to be picked up, so Maluno, we'll see what he decides he wants to fall back to. Nasus, he has played a lot, 6 times this season, so maybe that's where he'll want to pick up.
It's going to be Aurelia again for Yamato Cannon. It worked so well for him, like we mentioned in that last match. He looked unstoppable against Kubon. I wonder if Meet Your Makers even try and force the lane switch, whether he will just brute force it back and never switch back around.
It's going to be a difficult decision to make, because even if Kubon is having a good, a difficult time 1v1, how will he handle a Thresh Varus lane? That is a very, very kill-heavy lane. So if a single death sentence lands, they will be able to secure themselves, a trade. With a Caitlyn Zyra lock-in, that could be a signal for a lane swap. That could be a signal for a 2v1 from MYM, because that in itself, great range, great poke, and the ability to push towers down very quickly.
That tells me that Kubon may well be taking that at least for the top lane, or maybe it could be a mid lane Zyra.
Well, this is what we talked about in terms of the picking strategy for MYM. Whenever we stopped talking about it a moment or two ago, on the red side, with that last pick, Kubon can either decide to counter-pick his top lane opponent, which they know now is Aurelia, and at least should be able to do relatively well against her, land the cocoon, jump away, can poke her down with the poison, and we'll see what they decide to lock in.
They take that Karthus, that's going to be Shushay. He had it in game 1, Nocturne as well, the jungler. Maluno has been working very well in the jungle, creating all the kills so far, but it is going to be Ari getting locked in there. Well, this is an interesting setup. Sharu definitely wants to be more aggressive. He's going to try and carry that team through. And Ari versus Karthus, that's a scary, scary lineup for Shushay.
So Ari was actually banned out in the first game, was not picked nor banned in the second game, and has now obviously made it through. Now, Charu on those sort of assassins, he can do very well, and he's picked a champion that he can carry.
Yes.
He's picked a champion that has the ability to single out targets, have great damage, great mobility, and exactly like you said, against Karthus, you can just pop that guy in a second.
So here we go. It is going to be game 3. What are we seeing in these two lineups? We're seeing a lot of lockdown and aggression from Meteor Makers this time around. Dragon Balls, they've revisited a couple of old champions and a couple of new ones.
So in terms of the Dragon Balls lineup, we've seen how well Yamato Cannon's been doing on Aurelia, and we know how well she scales into the late game with levels, with items. In a similar vein, you have Varus and Karthus that will get them there. Nocturne is just going to be a very powerful initiator, a dive buddy, if you will, alongside Aurelia. For MYM, with Elise, Nautilus, and Ari, their initiation is going to be a little bit more strange, if you will, because they need to throw themselves at their enemy. There's no clear way to engage other than landing a root, landing a Stranglethorns, or just throwing Nautilus at the enemy. So we'll see quite how MYM decide to pick their fights in this particular engagement, but I definitely like the Ari pick. Long-range charm, that could also signal a go.
We'll see whether Charu is able to do that, whether the rest of his team will focus. Shushay getting a little bit worrisome in this matchup now. The break, how will it have affected these players, of course? Getting underway. Maluno there, he's been through this situation a number of times. Just discussing a few things with his top laner. And of course, Yamato Cannon on that Aurelia. How will he do against Kubon on Elise this time? It's going to be tricky to chase him down, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult to stick to Elise, and that's part of the reason I think they may have given Kubon that matchup. Elise is very, very strong in lane, a very powerful bully with all of that percentage HP damage, and of course, the moment that Blade Surge lands, you can throw out that cocoon and interrupt it. We'll see how well Kubon does and whether or not they're going to go for the lane swap. Because of the Caitlyn Zyra pick, you can immediately see that very, very long range of 650 on Caitlyn, 575 on Zyra. Going to be harassing Yamato Cannon down, and it's going to allow them to try push towers down quickly. So I actually expect MYM to try tower rotate as quickly as possible. Right now, though, it's a defensive start for everyone except the Dragon Balls.
Yeah, they're going aggressive here. Maybe going to try and sneak around, get that ward in towards the blue buff. There is a ward already on there that has come out from Libic. Dragon Balls in position. They know that Mover's there. It's actually give his position away. So now they're expecting them to all be in that bush. Kubon is ready and waiting. He has not leveled up anything just yet, as far as I can tell. But I expect him to take Cocoon possibly to just back off very quickly from this one. Dragon Ball's going for the delayed invade.
So we'll see how this works out for them. This is the first time that we've seen this actually out of many of our series. There hasn't been very much low-level engagements outside of one particular fight between Giants and Alternate. And you can just feel how tense this is. The Dragon Balls have obviously discussed this. Kubon has positioned himself very deep. And actually, Dragon Balls decide to back away. They decide to walk out. There were only 4 there. Remember, Aurelia was not with them. So if they did go for that invade, they ran the risk of running into 5.
Well, what they were doing, they were waiting for, obviously, Meteor Makers to come in and try and maybe put that ward down in the Wraith bush, and nobody came at the end of the day. They haven't put a single ward out across the river right now. It's Dragon Balls with the only coverage.
Yeah, so their wards as well. One of them was an Explorer ward, which has just timed out, and they got a regular Vision ward up, or Sight ward rather, which has just been mimicked now by Charu, and go figure, he is running teleport on his Ari. I just think Charu doesn't know how to run any other summon spell.
He's just so used to playing that. It works out well for him, and why not? You know, it has been so successful so far. He has picked up that Fortitude pot, though, so looking to brute force his way, taking down Shushay, who himself has gone for the Fairy Charm.
So, and of course, don't forget that the range, the auto-attack range for Ari is a little bit easier to land multiple hits on Shushay. A single charm into that Foxfire and Orb of Deception is going to hit particularly hard. I'd like to keep a close eye on how he levels up his Ari, because we've seen a number of different ways of leveling him up throughout the course of the weekend, because we've seen so many Aris this weekend, both hit and miss, and exactly like we said, it is a 2v1 situation.
Yeah, we thought Meteor Makers, that's what they were going to have to do, and Kubon and Meteor Makers have reacted to that. They've chose to switch it round. They've sent Caitlyn and Zyra in towards that top lane. Makata's going to be taking down that blue buff, and Libic is trying to zone out Yamato Cannon from this one. Let's see how they handle that 2v1.
So what MYM I think will be doing in this particular matchup is trying to get Makata to focus on this bottom lane, get Kubon some assistance, get him some kills, or even just help him defend that turret. And if they can get Makata to a good early mid-game position, he's actually going to have a presence where he didn't really affect that previous matchup with Rumble, or as Rumble. So we'll see how he does in this particular game. At the moment, it's really just it's a slow-paced game, and of course with Charu's teleport, a couple of good wards can allow him to teleport into that bottom lane.
I expect it to be very slow-paced, actually. I think it will be a pretty tense one here. I don't expect the crazy action that we saw in game one, the reckless abandon almost. Yamato Cannon using that blade surge, but he's taking a hell of a lot of beating there from Libic and Makler. They've got the pressure on. Here we're going to see in the top lane, Muvet's going to get pulled in. The anchor went down. Is he going to be a Dreadnought? He's going to go diving in towards it. Kubon may well pick up the first kill here. Hosan's laying down the damage. The piercing arrow comes out, flashes away from this one. He is going to get a revenge kill. Hosan, can he turn it around? Can he take that double buff? Hail of arrows on towards Makata. He's going to continue pursuing. He uses that dredge line to back off, and that was a 1-for-1 trade. But importantly, it was Kubon that got first blood.
So they do trade 1-for-1, and the double buffs are protected. So that works out pretty much okay for MYM. They would have preferred to have not lost Kubon, but all credit to Move. The moment that spider landed on his head, he landed the flay, and then actually dealt the damage with that death sentence.
Whoa!
And he's gone the wrong way.
Makler went the wrong way with Knights of Calabinet. Forces a flash disaster there for Meteor Makers. The teleport's coming out from Charu, cancelled out. And that was absolutely a schoolboy error.
That is just feeling the pressure
That
right
there
now.
is a gift waiting to happen.
That is just straight up. It cannot go worse for MYM. Under at 0-2 in the series right now, and realizing how important this game is, Makler just simply whiffed that ability, and that is not something that you see often, if ever, at this level of play.
It's something you simply can't do. You won't get away with it. And of course, he did get taken down. Makata is low in the jungle. He's going to be backing off to bite. Double Doran's blade being picked up. Makler now. It's going to help him in that lane, but that, is just turned around. So exactly the same happened for the Dragon Balls, but they didn't lose the top laner. Yamato Cannon got the kill. He gets himself the second Doran's blade, and now he's not worried about that 2v1 anymore.
No, he's going to be able to survive, going to have that additional sustain, easier last hitting. And something else, talking about the top laners and the items, that's an elixir of fortitude that's sitting in Kubon's back pocket. He had that during that level, that early first blood, and he actually didn't pop it. That probably could have saved his life, or at least given him the chance to maybe run away from a couple more auto attacks from Hosan. Nevertheless, 2-1 right now, and we'll see how each of these top laners do, each of whom having those kills.
Pink ward from Libic clears it out. Yamato Cannon's vision has been taken away. We do see Charu, of course, cancelled that teleport earlier on. He's going to put the ward in the banana bush, and Meteor Maker's going to keep the pressure on the bottom lane. Blade search from Yamato Cannon will keep that wave cleared and away from the turret. Not going to start missing out the CS, but in the mirror, down the bottom lane, Kubon is doing just as well. And in terms of CS between the two, we're going to see Kubon getting hooked and flayed straight away. Hail of Arrows comes down and he pulls him into the lantern. Is he going to land a piercing arrow? You sure as well.
Good repel.
Just repelled at the right time.
And in addition to that, the Dark Lantern, the Dark Passage gank, managing to pull Hosan up, but he ate a cocoon en route, and that obviously deterred a lot of those auto attacks. If he hadn't been cocooned, he may have done more damage. Yamato losing out in that trade after trying to just get that equilibrium strike poke down.
And trying to get a good poke down towards him there as well. Nicely returned there from Meteor Makers. We do see Charu laying out those charms in that mid lane. He's actually starting to really bully out Shushay, keeping him away here. Shushay, of course, gone back to get that tier of the Goddess. Meanwhile, Double Doran's rings were picked up by Charu. Of course, he's still got that Fortitude pot in his pocket. Let's have a look at the tower damage, though. You can see over half the hit points already down for Meteor Makers in the top lane. Down the bottom lane, though, so you can see Kubon. He's been a lot better job at defending that turret.
Part of the reason will that, of course, be... Part of the reason that has happened is because of the fact that Makate was there for that first blood and has pushed them a little bit further back. So that's helping them out. In addition, the range of Zyra and Caitlyn will always allow you to get that additional damage down. We see Charu, he's maxing out that Orb Deception first. That is the Q of Ari. He's going to be using that to just keep the wave pushed up and try to keep Karthus under his tower. But you're CSing very, very well under this very, very aggressive Charu.
Here comes Makata again. Can he land that dredge line? All importantly, It is going to be Dragonborns backing away from this one. We also see Meet Your Makers backing off. They're going to go for the golems. They're taking the golems away because Makata's so far away. He's covering off that bottom lane while Kubon goes back to buy. He picks himself up the boots.
So not too bad at all. And with both Nautilus and Thresh in the same lane, the possibility for hookception is available. Dredge line and Death Sentence. And with Maluno's Nocturne sneaking up here, they may actually think about going for a dive. It's something that we have seen Dragonborns doing in both of the games that they've already played today. Is hanging around for a little while longer. There is no vision here, and he's level 6, so Paranoia is available if he wants to just throw himself at his enemies.
Well, Kubon returns. He's got that Fortitude Pop running now. I didn't see whether he had to use it before he went back. I'm guessing he did. And now we do see once again in the top lane, Macla's farming out. It is the bottom lane we want to look at. There's going to be the ultimate coming out. Hosan's going to get bounced in the air. There's going to be the Lantern. We are going to see Kubon hooked in. There's the Paranoia. Kubon's going to be the focus and absolutely melted. They're going to be able to get themselves a double up here. Chain of Corruption was on Makata. Maluna's going to be the one tanking it. There's going to be the Carth's ultimate from Shushay. He will get the kill. No, double kill actually picked up by Hosan.
So Hosan actually jumping in there, landing that last auto attack, wasting the Requiem, to be very honest. However, look at the rest of the damage coming down. Makla forced incredibly low in the top lane. Charu took some poke as well. So the Requiem not exactly wasted, but you definitely feel that that last hit maybe should have been left for Shushay.
Yeah, because he's got no assists off that. He got nothing at all because the damage didn't go down, not a single tick. So I'm not too sure between the AD carry and the AP carry in that mid lane. It's really communication problems, or whether one's simply laughing and saying, got that one.
Yeah, that definitely sounds like Hosan. If anybody's going to do it, that is something they would do. An early Brutalizer pickup from Hosan and a BF sword. And look at this in the top lane.
Yamato cannon dived on, but he's going to get Limbic surely before he goes down. No, he is going to die, and Limbic's going to get away with this one. And now, wouldn't it be a wonderful time to have that Requiem?
Yeah, that would be fantastic, and a pity that there's not available because, of course, in that bottom lane, it was not able to secure a kill. Limbic gets away by the skin of his teeth or the weed of your garden, whatever you prefer. He does manage to get to safety and picks up the kill thanks to that ignite plus those little roots.
Maluna takes himself a nice chunk of lane tax, and look at that farm. He's way ahead of Makata right now. Obviously with those 3 assists as well, the fact that he's built up that CS lead, you can see the gold already. 600 gold over him, 300 gold being picked up over Yamato Cannon. And it is the AD carries. Big difference there. That's 1,100 gold already between Hosan and Makla.
Now we'll see how those auto attacks, actually will be hurting Makla in this top lane, because in terms of items, he's got that Brutalizer completed as well as a BF sword. On the other side of the coin, there is an additional Doran's Blade and BF sword of his own. So it's going to be up to Makla to use the range to his advantage. You see, there's a ward, the Death Sentence so close to landing.
Piercing arrow on towards Libic, like you say, Death Sentence, and now the AD carries up against each other. They have switched around. They're going to keep that pressure on. They're going to take it down, Mouvet and Hosan pushing in. See if they can put the pressure on Makla on this turret. Piercing arrow doesn't quite land. Makla just sidesteps it. Blue buff will be given across to Shushay. He's actually struggling out in that mid lane, currently against Charu.
So he started to fall behind since Charu's picked up that Fiendish Codex, got that additional cooldown reduction, is able to, spam out those abilities a little bit more. In addition, he had to leave his lane to cast Requiem when there was a big minion wave in front of his tower. So that would have lost, 3, 4, 5 minions. So that's where this disparity is starting to show. What we do see, though, in terms of the two teams, again, for the 3rd game in a row, Dragonborns have got off to a stronger start and have a gold lead.
We have got Makata standing off at the side, but he would have passed towards. There's a little hook on towards Makala. The dredge line comes in, and to dredge line, the actual hail of arrows is going to go through towards Libic. Should be able to take him down, but he gets bounced up just before it. Mouvet's ultimate's going to go down. Will it be enough to pop him up? Yes, he does. It's going to be Mouvet coming on towards. He's in all sorts of trouble. He's going to get popped down there. Not a lot he can do about that one. A great turnaround for Meet Your Makers. They take it at 2 for 1.
Yeah, so they end up trading, I think, 2 for 1 is just great at the end of the day. Makla was focused and burst down so quickly, but that teleport was used by Charu, and of course summon a spell. As long as it picks up kills, that's what matters. What matters now, Dragonborns, the numbers advantage, they pick up a free dragon. And what we noticed in that fight, actually, Hosan is maxing his piercing arrow first. That's the Q. He's one of the only Varuses that we see doing that. Generally, you max the hail of arrows, which is the E, that slightly higher, sort of guaranteed burst and slow.
Turret damage on Libic there. Nearly took him down. Charu does finish off that turret, and that's going to make it all square in turrets. The gold advantage, as you mentioned, still with the Dragonborns. They have that kill advantage as well. So far, a 4-1-0 Hosan is a scary, scary thing.
And of course, it's on Varus as well. So of all the champions, it's one of the hardest hitting AD carries in the game. It's interesting to see him picking up that brutalizer very early on. Definitely feels like he wants to force his opponents down and take control of the matchup. And of course, he should be able to do so. He's got a good CS advantage. He's so fed right now. If, however, Charu can get a good charm onto him, he can obviously mitigate all that damage and try to focus him down.
See exactly whether that's what he does. The ball's being thrown out by Charu. 131 CS, 107, but of course he's got that assist in there, which Shushay should have had. Instead, though, he doesn't get it. He's going to clear out that wave in the mid lane, see if he can catch on towards Charu. Wall of Pain not quite clipping the tail of the Fox.
But that Fox is farming so incredibly well right now. Going to be working closer and closer towards maybe a DFG. We've seen the double Dorans into Death by Grass being a common build, but there's a fight in the bottom.
Makla's in trouble, and again, we see Yamato Cannon blade surging on towards him. He's causing so many problems in both lanes, honestly, whether it's a 2v1. Oh, the flash cocoon didn't quite land on Hosan. Both flashes burned that. So, Charu was ready and waiting to go. They would have picked up the kills. No turret there, remember. And that's what the ping's for. I think they're just saying, look, there's no turret. We could have carried on here.
And Cubon is really struggling. He's still 20 CS behind his opponent right now, and he's trying his best to make plays happen. That flash cocoon is the sign of somebody who wants to make something happen and is tired of actually falling behind. What we do see, though, is that in the mid lane, there's a fight.
The charm on Shushay, there's going to be the basic damage coming out from Charu there. And again, that wall of pain from Shushay. He's causing problems. He can't get onto Charu, though.
Now, Maluno is within paranoia range. It is up. It is available. Yamato Cannon has flash, and he's getting closer and closer to getting that ultimate up. So expect them to dive in together and focus on maybe Libic, who is not going to be able to get away. Although the flash is burned from Makla, so that may be the target.
There's no turret there. It's going to be Hosan pulled away by that Dark Passage. Manages to throw out the Chain of Corruption, but straight away gets taken down. Kubon does manage to pick up that kill. He repelled back instead of going in there. There's going to be the paranoia on towards Makla. It is going to turn him in the right direction. Maluno is very deep on this one. We're going to see Libic's ultimate coming out. Makla will go down. One more basic attack. And now it's going to be Shushay going on towards Libic. No, they're not going to follow through. It doesn't matter. Now in the top lane, we see Kubon very, very low. Muver tries to turn around on towards him. Magata putting the damage down, hooks him in there. Does manage to sink them fangs in. And Kubon should be able to repel away from this one. Muver baited in towards it. Will he come back around? Lashes him very nicely. Muver has not done yet. We do see Charu taking down Shushay in the mid lane. And there is another kill for Makata in the top lane. Very much aggression all across the board. And it is still 1,000 gold between them. 7-6 in total. Kills coming left, right, and center.
Yeah, crazy fight all across the board there. But overall, MYM coming out in the better position, getting more kills from that. I have to give props to Maluno's Nocturne gank. He follows in with the paranoia. As those Stranglethorns went down, he flashed out of the range of the knockup and continued dealing damage down onto Makla there. So very well played. We did see Charu, though, once that Requiem went down, he dove in with his ultimate, used his full complement of abilities, and picked up a kill onto Shushay. So well played by Charu in that mid lane, and Death by Grasp has just been completed.
Damage on that middle turret for Dragonborns, but of course theirs is down in the mid lane. It's Miho Makers with the advantage in turrets. They are still 800 gold behind, though. And Dragonborns trying to see if they can win out any more. Look at the CS gap right now again. I feel like I'm a broken record right now. Third game in, Kubon falling way behind Yamato Cannon.
Well, fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you.
Only a 3 goal difference,
is about to jump into Yamato Cannon, but there's a teleport coming in. Our ultimate is almost available for Charu. They may think about diving.
He may well think of diving. He's going to see if he can land that charm through. Yamato Cannon sidesteps it. He put the damage down, and Yamato Cannon used his ultimate of his own there. And Meteor Makers, they're going to put a 3-man pressure on towards his turret. He has got Maluna to support him, but I don't think he's going to want to take this fight.
Also very well played by Yamato to sidestep. We did see that Kubon was trying to sneak towards the bottom lane, but Dragonborns were backing off early enough, which meant they weren't really a threat to it. In addition, he walked over a ward, or near a ward, so he would have been spotted. The top lane tower went down. Dredgeline has been caught, and Shushay is way behind enemy lines.
He's way behind enemy lines. He's going to take a tower hit there. There's going to be another ultimate coming down. Makata's going to land that Dredgeline one more time. He just needs to catch on towards Shushay. Hosan's pulling the damage. The Dark Passage comes out. Very nicely done. Hosan is going to take this inner turret down. Nobody's reacting to him in time. We are going to see Makata coming down there, but it's going to be another free turret for Hosan. He's going to be 1v1 versus the jungler. Has he got enough?
Kubon.
Kubon is going to come in towards that top lane. Hosan's taken very low. He may not even need Kubon right now, but Kubon certainly needs those kills. They have to give it to him, but he does get it in the end. It's the poison that comes out.
Yeah, so they end up picking up that kill, but 3 towers down. Top outer, top inner, as well as mid outer turret all drop in just a slew of action. That gives Dragonborns a 3,000 gold lead right now. The only tower taken in reply was that bottom lane tower.
Well, Bloodthirst that was picked up by Hosan along with that Brutalizer. Again, it's aggressive play all across the board. Sharu got that Deathfire Grasp completed, yet to have Rod of Ages completed Shushay. But there is a lot of wards in and around Dragonborn's jungle, which is being cleared out. Meteor Maker's getting down, making sure they get that pink. The Dragon will be spawning in 1 second time, and Mover throwing out that hook, seeing if he can land on Libic.
I tell you what, Mover has definitely been a very impressive Thresh player during the course of this series. Charm just sidestepped by Maluno. Charu's thinking about picking a fight. Rod of Age is still not completed by Shushay. He's decided to pick up other items right now. Now, the death sentence has hooked. Mover thinks about going in. It is on cooldown now, which means it's not available. And look at that!
Charu goes in for Shushay, gets exhausted. He's going to get completely caught out by Libic, but that's going to be Maluno diving in. 2-2 deep there. The ultimate's going to come out. The Requiem does pick up one. Mover gets taken down in the process. Back and forth the action. It's going to be 3 kills. Triple kill being picked up by Charu. Does get taken down now. And now you can see Yamato kind of closing in. Hail of Arrows will be enough, but no, the slow comes out from Makato. Dredgeline slides away from it. Makler this time with the 90 caliber net in the right direction. Does get away. It's a 3 for 3, but MYM got the Dragon.
Spider Nautilus managed to pull himself away to safety, and very importantly, after Charu got that killing spree, he was immediately shut down by Hosan, I believe, getting that bonus gold as if he wasn't scary enough at 5-3-0. He's now got another kill and that bonus to play with. We'll see how well Dragonborns do with this very small gold lead, but again, it's a practical repeat of the 2 games we've seen previously with chaos and action all over the place, but Dragonborns just holding onto that lead at all costs.
20 kills in 19 minutes so far, and I don't think we're going to be done just yet. Meteor Maker's Makla is trying to do his best to clear out, but he's up against a long-haired mental patient right now in the form of Hosan. He's pushing across everywhere on the map. We saw him take down the top and inner turret on the top lane. Look at that piercing arrow coming out, and look how much damage it does on Makato and Libic there. He's already got the Bloodthirster built up, the BF sword now being picked up, the Brutalizer he already had built up. That damage is going to be outstanding soon.
And he's about to upgrade them as well. Picked up another Doran's Blade as well as completing those Berserker's Greaves. So Dumbledore is just really wanting to feel that he needs and wants power right now. Over on the other side, Makla has only got BF Pickaxe and the Cloak of Agility. We'll see how well this pans out for them. Interestingly, Charu's decided to go for a needlessly large rod as well as that Brilliance Pot over upgrading his Sorcerer's Shoes. So feeling that he needs those statistics, needs that ability power, and he needs it now.
The amount of wards actually out from Meteor Makers is pretty impressive. They do have great vision. It looks like they're going to try and focus on Dragonborns shoving in that mid lane, but actually, you know, Dragonborns really don't have that many wards out, but they don't need them because they're just all stacking up and they're all following straight at that mid lane. Wall of Pain goes down. They do put some damage on towards Makata. And again, that piercing arrow onto Libic is causing so much harm.
Well, when you decide to just stack up, look at that!
Oh, wow, Hosan gets focused. Ace in the Hole comes in. He gets popped. Ace in the Hole didn't even get a chance to land. It's going to be back available, and Meteor Maker's going to keep chasing in this one. Dredgeline will be available for Makata, but the Wall of Pain slows his progress.
They just destroyed Hosan there, and that is exactly what we were talking about. If you land that charm on the right target and follow it up with that DFG or vice versa, it's just going to melt carry. So right now, MYM with the numbers advantage. They've hooked Yamato.
They've hooked Yamato. There's going to be the Hail of Arrows coming out. Not going to land through, actually, a tell a lie. It was the Libic's ultimate as well in place, and that's going to be a kill for Kuban. Kuban's starting to get the kills. This is important. They need to get him in that game, and it's working well for them. Yeah,
right now, the composition is so great, and Libic's control has been spot on. Stranglethorns after Stranglethorns has secured team fight wins and kills for Meteor Makers. It's really, really working out well for them. And in that previous fight, you've seen it happen once again. He's currently 2-1-6 for his team, and he's definitely going to be an integral member if they want to continue controlling this match.
Blue buff will be going across the chariot. Oh, Yamato Cannon's coming around towards that blue buff. They want to fight for this one. Yamato Cannon actually made force the pressure on towards that turret. You can see everybody's out of position. Here comes Hosan along with Yamato. Moveout may be thinking of tanking it up. They could throw that shield down, put some damage down on towards the inner, but no. The rest of Dragonborns have to back away. They have got a creep wave coming in. Meteor Maker's back around there, and it's going to be the Dredgeline. It has to come out from Makato again.
So it does look like he's running in. The rest of MYM are moving into position, and that's Charu. He's teleported into the river, but was right next to a ward, so Dragonborns will be well aware of his position, and instead, Charu wisely just moves around to the blue buff. Now they want to try steal it. He just secured his blue buff a moment ago, and this blue buff hunger definitely controlling him. He should be able to pick us up for free. They've caught on the Luno. A good spell shield will block that on hits, and we'll see how well this plays out right now.
Well, Makata maybe should have gone to Nautilus a while ago, because this seems to be the champion that suits him right now. 3-1-6, 4-3-2 for Kuban. He did get out-farmed in that lane. He could struggle very much. Hosan is a long way away from this one. We're going to see Dragonborns going in. They're actually in a 4v5 here. This is an error for them. They don't have their AD carry with them.
No, not at all. And if MYM decide to force a fight, they can. Deathfire Grasp, as well as all of that magic damage from Charu, will just melt whoever they decide to jump on. Hosan hasn't even backed off. Hosan has just stayed there. He's pushed the wave out. And now, after the tower has fallen, he's decided to back away. So that's going to even up the towers 4-4. And somehow, Dragonborn still hold on to this gold lead.
But Hosan has a huge farm advantage over his AD partner. If he does get some free damage, he will melt them down. Look at the gold difference right now. It's nearly 3,000 on the AD carry. That is monstrous.
That is almost an infinity edge just between these two AD carries, and I think Hosan is getting very, very close to actually finishing that item. I believe that is what it is that he is saving for, so we'll see what he decides to upgrade in the next couple of minutes, as he is just about to recall. And I think now, once he picks up whatever it is he's about to pick up, this is going to signal team fight time for Dragonborns.
Yeah, they've been slowly but surely farming up. No, he's going to go Berserker Greaves and stick Home Guard on him. He's waited around a little bit longer. Will he get anything else? No, he seems happy with that.
Definitely not expecting that. I didn't actually see how much gold he had to spend, but nevertheless, right now, a Rite of Ages was completed there for Shushe's Karthus, and he's working towards getting himself that Archangel Staff as well. MYM holding on by the skin of their teeth.
Oh, Hosan's going to get taken so low. He will get dropped, but no, turns around, puts that Chain of Corruption down. Is it going to land on Charu? Can they take him down? Yes, they can. Maluna comes in with a power, and it's Shushe that picks up the kill. It's a 1-for-1 exchange. The AD for the AP carry, but it's going to be the Dragon started off by Meteor Makers. Will Dragonborns turn around in towards the Baron?
So it does look like they're going to try it, but at the moment, without Hosan there, they simply do not have that consistent damage. They'll be relying entirely on Shushe for it. It does look like they want to start it, and Meteor Makers are now moving around. This could be a bait, though. Look at the smart play from Dragonborns. They're trying to pull MYM towards him, and they got pretty good ward coverage there to try and take MYM out as they approach.
How's the finger doing there, Trevor?
I just crushed it on the desk. It's killing me.
Fair play for him. He carried on going, completely crushed his hand on the desk, and nevertheless, the game is really afoot right now. Dragonborns, Meteor Makers, this is a tight game. It is just 200 gold between them, 14-10 in kills, 4-4 in turrets, and really anyone could take this game right now. It is very, very open.
Yeah, it is 100 gold that separates these teams. It does not get closer. And it's just a matter that Charu has been finding the picks, and if he can get a pick onto Varus early in a team fight, you just feel that MYM should be able to close that team fight out. At the moment, Yamato Cannon's Irelia, while he is well farmed, is not that just complete wrecking beast that he was from the previous game.
Well, we do see the red buff going. Actually, I don't think that went to Hosan. He may well have missed it towards the end. That piercing arrow did come out. Libic's going to clear out with that Oracle and take away all the ward coverage that Dragonborns just hard fought and put in there. We do also see the pink ward in that Dragon Bush. He's going to be able to spot out the ward, and Meteor Maker's been very good at clearing out everything, but Charu's going to show himself way down that bottom lane. What are Dragonborns going to do to it? Actually, they may be thinking of focusing towards the mid.
The amount of money that has been spent on wards from MYM is just so incredibly good. The map just looks like a Christmas tree the entire time, and it's allowing MYM to make these decisions on where they want to roll, which lane they want to move to, whether it's top, mid, or bottom. And it's also allowed Charu to find those picks that he has been finding. With a Deathfire Grasp as well as that Rabadon's Death Cap, he is hitting just so hard. And he can pretty much pop anybody. Even though there's a Negatron Cloak on the side of Yamato Cannon, that DFG is just going to melt him down.
Yeah, teleport's available shortly. He's not going to use it, though. He's actually coming up. Realize that there's going to be Dragonborns nearby. They may well go for a fight here. The ward from Meteor Makers. Not a lot of coverage from Dragonborns at all. They may well get focused out, and it looks like Makata's trying to cut them off.
So we'll see whether or not Charu can land a good charm. It's up to the charm or the dredge line. If that dredge line comes out, Molino will, of course, be able to use that Shroud of Darkness to block at least one ability, and that is why he was bringing up the rear. He was providing a body block material for the rest of the Dragonborns. They've grouped up as a 5, moved around towards this mid-inner turret, and Meteor Makers have signaled their intent. We want this turret, and we want it now.
They try and push in for it. They have not really got a great deal of damage, and the wave clear, of course, against the Karthus, it's very hard to push. Yamato Cannon's chasing this one, thinking about going in. He's not half as tanky as he was before, though.
Now remember, if Marta Cannon's up front, Maluno can immediately dive onto the same target with Paranoia. And we'll see whether or not they actually want to pick this fight. Gold is even. There is nothing that separates these teams as far as total gold is concerned. It just depends on who it is currently sitting with. That is, of course, going to be that power player. That is the numbers right now. Karthus, 2K behind his counterpart. However, Varus, 2.5K above his counterpart. And it's just going to be determined by who can kill their opponent's Fed carry the quickest.
Most importantly, the two top laners, they are actually even right now for the first time in this matchup. It is Kubon keeping up, just 200 gold behind. And Meal Makers have a really good position to start the Baron here. And Dragonborns, they're a long way away.
It does look like they're going to start this one off. Charu is running interference. There's so many wards positioned now for the Dragonborns in and around the map. Look for the charm to come up, and you just see Charu, who's pretty much single-handedly defended them. And while once Libic has joined the party, that's a lot of protection. This Baron will probably go down. It's going a little bit slower than they would have liked. It's down to 1,500. Dragonborns, they're here too late.
They're going to come around. They're going to learn the grasping roots. The ultimate comes out from Libic. He does manage to shut down Maluno. The ultimate comes out into the Paranoia run towards Charu. Charu had snuck around the backside of them, but the rest of Dragonborns, there's going to be a chain of corruption, actually. Meal Makers may well get focused, but Dragonborns wisely backing off from this fight. Will they lose anyone? It seems they could get away without any deaths.
They managed to survive, but they lost the Baron buff. That's very, very important. And Charu, I've got to question him. He went in from the back and tried to focus down Muvert. He used his Deathfire Grasp on the support, and I don't think that's the right thing to do. He needs to be a little bit more patient with his items, with his abilities, and he has to jump onto Hosan because of the power that Hosan has right now in this fight. 10 to 14 in terms of kills with Baron up, and MYM are sieging this inner turrets.
They will take it as well. I don't think there's going to be much that Meal Makers can do about that one. So gold advantage now in Meal Makers' favor, tower advantage in their favor, kill advantage in their favor. How have they got it in them to take this series to 2-1? It is still going to be a long, hard fight for them, but this is the first time they've had a big advantage over the Dragonborns.
Yeah, 3 games in, and this is the first time that they've been, dare I say, in control of the matchup. They have finally got a commanding position with that Baron buff, and as long as they don't misplay the buff and misplay the map, they should be able to maintain control of it. They are slowing down a little bit on those wards. You can see the Christmas tree worth of lights in the minimap is no longer quite as decorative. And of course, MYM will be looking to just get all that vision back to maintain this control they have.
Well, Hosan and Muvert are moving to the bottom, and they're going to clear out that. So Dragonborns still actually keeping the pressure on the lanes, keeping the lanes pushed and even, despite the fact they're up against the Baron up Meal Makers. They haven't really read the playbook on what to do against the Baron team.
No, not 100% sure, but we'll see how they handle it. If they're just going to throw themselves at it, why not? I don't think Dragonborns know quite how to play subtly, if I can use that term. I would like to see if Hosan is going to be upgrading that Mercurial Scimitar as his next item with the BF Sword and that's Quicksilver Sash. I believe that's probably what he's going to be working towards,
yep.
But we'll see if he does combine them. It'll be an interesting second item, especially with the Brutalizer. Hosan, an unconventional AD carry in himself, but wow, is he farming well this game.
It would actually make sense, the fact that there's, 3 AP champions technically there. One of them with a Charm, one of them with a Cocoon, one of them with a Grasping Root. You know, it's perfect sense,
yep.
QSS and damage and magic resist all combined in one.
Yeah, it really works out, especially because if Libic is allowed to build some ability power, it's something you see on those Zyras all so often. You can't discount the damage from Nautilus.
But now, magic damage I did.
Yeah, you
magic
did.
resist.
You were 100%. No, he's itemized to deal with the magic damage. Right now, Hosan was very far forward, has decided to back away. And the Dragonborns are fending off this bottom turret. Nautilus is alone on the red buff. And it does look like it's going to be stolen away. So MYM with some great buff control of the Dragonborns.
Now they're going to siege on towards this turret. Honestly, with Libic in there, he can be throwing those plants out. The dredge line, fear that Makata has been instilling in them. He will be able to get in there. The Cocoon's also being flung out. The spiders coming out from Libic, keeping that pressure down. Sorry, from Kubon, rather. They aren't exactly sieging down the turret, though.
And of course, there's a ward in the bush they're standing in.
Yeah, so they have full coverage, and Hosan, he's just waiting. That piercing arrow is going to come back out on those minion line again, and he's going to stop them in their path.
Now everybody has their ultimates up. The dredge line and the grass roots misses, but the Cocoon lands. MYM are going to be happy with that, and they're just going to focus down the turret with a charm. There's Shushay.
The turret's second low. Shushay gets dropped, and he's actually going to dive in here. Maluno with the Paranoia. Chain of Corruption comes down. Charu does get dropped there by the ultimate coming out from Shushay. Hosan, the last man standing on the turret. Muvert is also with him, though. He's going to try and get along, but it's going to be Hosan that's focused. He's going to have to use that barrier. Muvert will go down. Ace in the hole! all, and that is a very dead Dragonborn's team. And now it's looking like Meteor Makers, they may well be able to continue pushing through and take down this inhibitor.
1 for 5 in that team fight. The bottom inner turret goes down. They're going to get this inhibitor turret, and they're going to get this inhibitor. Ladies and gentlemen, get the popcorn, because MYM, they look set to pick up this third game right now. They're in a very commanding position. That's going to be a 10,000 gold lead very, very shortly. And we'll see whether or not they can actually close this out, and at what, how quickly.
Well, Meteor Makers, of course, will back off and buy, but that Baron buff used to perfect usage there, and that means, of course, the first inhibitor of the game does go down and certainly gives them a big advantage. 8,000 gold lead now, 7-4 in turrets, 19-11. And that, of course, means that Meteor Makers may well take this to 2-1. Could we see what Alternate did yesterday? 2-0 up the Giants were. They lost 3-2. Can Meteor Makers do the same thing against Dragonborns?
Well, they're going to be trying to channel that ability for this matchup. They're going to be doing the best that they can. And right now, they are poised to pick up at least the first of those 3 games. You cannot ever discount the damage from Shusha and Hosan. In that particular fight, Charu did that. He was perfect. He managed to jump on Shusha and kill him after that cocoon, and he was away from the team. He was able to kill Karthus outside of the MYM roster, and that is the reason they were able to, deal so much damage and get away with so much life. So, with correct positioning, this definitely should be their matchup.
Of course, Baron will be spawning in 1 minute 30 sec. Meteor Makers may well try and take advantage of the map, push everything forward, and basically take that without Dragonborns being able to reply. We do see Kubon backing off, so the ward coverage will come out from Meteor Makers. There is a blue ward in the bush just there, so that's actually going to give all the Meteor Makers position away. Libic does spot that one out, takes away all the vision of the Dragonborns, and that does mean that the Meteor Makers have free reign on this Baron once it was to spawn.
Yeah, so we'll see what they're going to decide to force it. We've seen that Baron fight engagement win and lose games over the course of the last few days, and right now, if MYM were to decide to bait out that fight, they've got so much peel and crowd control from the cocoon, the depth charge, the Zyra abilities, everything will work in their favor to pick a fight. But right now, it doesn't look like they want to potentially run the risk of throwing the game. Instead, they're just going to shove these lanes down. They've got very good wave clear with Caitlyn, with Ari, with Zyra. And they, of course, have great CG ability because of that immense range. Their hook!
The hook lands on Makata. He's not too worried. Dredge lines away. He's got a hook of his own.
Yeah, he manages to grab the tree and pulls himself away. I'm a lumberjack and it's okay. I can run all day. I was gonna sing with that one, but I decided to cut it.
I was gonna let you go, man. You had that covered. I thought we could have a sing-along or something going on. 20 seconds before the Baron spawns, and Meteor Makers have full control of the upper jungle area, and will be ready and waiting to go in 10 seconds time when it spawns.
So Dragonborns right now, they have 2 of their members down in this bottom lane, which Charu and the rest of his crew will be able to see. And of course, with Baron respawning, they're just going to start this one up immediately. There's no way that Dragonborns can react to time. And again, Libic and Charu are just running interference. They are making sure they're in the jungle. And look at that ward coverage. MYM have said, you know what we need to do to win? We need to buy 1 million wards, put them down, and it's working for them.
They needed the coverage, and more importantly, the difference here is the fact that Kubon has got into the game. He wasn't all alone. Yamato Cannon, the charm, look at that. The damage that's actually going on to him. He is not a tanky object. Now we're going to see, there's going to be Meteor Makers diving in. Muvek gets taken down. Oh my word. Paranoia comes out from Maluna there. Doesn't really do a great deal. He's going to try and cause as much damage down as he can, but that's another kill. It's going to be Kubon picking 2 of them up there. Makta finishing off.
Wow.
Cocoon lands on Hosan. That surely may well be the death of him. There's going to be the spiders chasing down on towards him. They're going to come around the side here, but Makata not really healthy enough to get in there.
1 for 3, and Maluno, he is not beefy enough or tanky enough to dive into 4 members of Meteor Makers. He just lobbed himself at the opponents and got squashed like an insect. Right now, Hosan is doing the best he can to defend, and Kuban throws out a tentative cocoon, which does not manage to land. This is going to be the second inhibitor of the game. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to a 4th game. There are super minions in the bottom wave. MYM will be probably just moving down to this middle lane and trying to get the 3rd inhib. It's League of Legends by the numbers.
There's a big creep wave there, but there's a home guard Yamato Cannon chasing out, and with that Baron buff, there's no reason why Meteor Makers should pressure themselves. Super minions will be on the Nexus turret down the bottom there. We see Mubet doing his best to lash them out, but they're actually starting to put some damage down on them. And the rest of Dragonborns, they're actually trying to chase out Meteor Makers, but they have to deal with their turrets of their own so far. So we see the gold advantage. It's 11,000 to Meteor Makers, 8-4 up in turrets, 22-12 in kills. Surely this is now 2-1 Meteor Makers.
It's a matter of time. Dragonborns took 63 minutes to close out with a 25,000 gold lead.
Don't remind me, man. Don't remind me.
I am, just in case you forgot. It was a fairly long time ago. Right now, MYM Makers, they're going to see how long it takes them to close out, whether or not we can award them the record for the most drawn-out victory. At the moment, though, with 2 waves of super minions, you have to feel it's just a matter of time before they group up as 5, use that last 2 minutes of Baron buff, and then push down the Nexus.
Well, Makata stood around having a discussion. Should we go back? Should we go back and buy? Yeah, let's get ourselves a beer before we come back. So
they bring me one.
3-1-13 Makata. Definitely found his jungler this time around, I feel. Seems to be working well, and more importantly for Kubon, 7-3-7 actually has the gold lead now over Yamato Cannon.
So he's turned himself into a Boeing and has finally been able to fly above those poor performances of games 1 and 2. With the aid of his team, he went in that 1v2 lane, he was able to pick up first blood with the assistance of a flash dredge line from Makate. And from there, it's just been kill after kill, which is really... The fact that he's been able to make an impact in the game is definitely important. And of course, you cannot discount Charu's insta-gib powers. He's been removing members of Dragon Balls from every single fight, and that's what's helping them win this.
So MYM Makers looking like they're going to be on their final push going in. Oh my word, move there, getting taken solo. Charu is going to get caught out, does get dropped. That may delay things for a while here with Paranoia going on towards Libic. We're going to see Yamato Cannon. He's going to get popped up there. Libic's ultimate really disrupting everyone this time around. Grasping roots, surely he's going to get thrown out. You can see the cocoon coming in. Everything from MYM Makers slowing them down, but the wall of pain lands on Libic once again. He's trying his best to get away from this one. Are they going to turn around and save it? That may be a mistake there. Dragonborn's going to keep on pursuing on towards MYM Makers here. The damage continuing to come out. Hosan's going to chase on towards Makla. Makla has to flash away from that one.
But look at the base.
They are not done yet. There is super minions in their base, and that is why MYM Makers are trying to delay. Wall of Pain comes in. He lands the hook on Hosan, and the Kupon's still in there. They're keeping the pressure on Shushay. They might be able to take him down. Yamato Cannon does get dropped. Now they're on towards Maluna. He's going to get focused in there. Will his ultimate be enough? No, he gets taken down. Makla picks up a double kill. Hosan steps on a trap, gets hooked in by Makata. He gets taken down by Makata. That's 3-kill turnaround. They're going to get the ace in the hole on Move. It's not going to be enough. Super minions all in the base right now. MYM Makers chase through the base and then turn around and go, what are we doing? We've got super minions on our side. We can take this game. Teleport comes out from Sharu. The Nexus turret goes down. The hook comes in once again. Shushay uses the Zonya's Hourglass. He's going to get popped in, and the Nexus turret will fall. MYM Makers back in the game. It's 2-1. Dragonborn's with the lead, but that's a note of tension right there by MYM Makers.
Ladies and gentlemen, MYM are running away, and they were like, hey, have you seen us? Look at our team, look at our items, we can pick this fight. They turn it right back on and shut down the Dragonborns. 2-1, MYM Makers, they're not out yet.
What confidence boost will that give MYM Makers? Dragonborns, of course, are going to be thinking, well, before that break, we had the momentum, we had it going, but unfortunately for them, MYM Makers had other plans, and this time around, they seem to have the picks and bans right. The 2v1 worked out very well for them.
And thank you for that, Demon, and that was just an insane game. MYM Makers coming back from the brink of elimination, picking up that first game of the series for them, now 1-2. Down. I wanted to say up right there as we might see them come back, but you know what a game. We talked about it in the announcement desk last time about what MYM Makers need to do to really switch this up, to really get back in the game, and we saw it there. We talked about Kubon maybe going in a 1v2 situation. We talked about him maybe playing a tank champion. He did one of the two, and it worked out well.
It worked out brilliantly, and, you know, we can't argue about that. The fact that Kubon got involved in that game, that is a big, big difference for them.
Yeah, it was one of the cases where we talked about how they needed Makate to help him out in the early game. He made it work, and that's the important fact. I do feel that Charu is somewhat of the unsung hero of that match because he was able to pick up a lot of kills and on crucial targets. Hosan and Shushay got shut down so many times throughout the course of that game. And because they were almost always like a man down, Dragonborns could never group as 5 and push objectives.
Yeah, and more importantly, that Hosan, he started off so well, but he just couldn't get flowing. You know, he actually took down the inner turret in the top on his own while the rest of people were fighting down at the Dragon. And he was thinking, well, he's an unstoppable machine right now. He was 4-1-0 up, I think. But then he got focused and there was no other damage.
That's something that Joe and I actually always talk about. Actually, no, we all talk about it, is that the fact that you get all the kills, like you can be 16-0 on a person, but if no one else on your team has the kills, if the kills aren't spread out and that person dies in a fight, what was the whole point of getting those 16 kills? And we saw right there, Hosan focused on, just like he said, and he would die, and they would lose the fights.
Well, it's one of those situations where, as a team, MYM were just incredibly mobile. Both Elise, Nautilus, Ari could all jump onto them at the right time, and so many of those Stranglethorns from Libic were just locking up Dragonborn. So what would happen is, the MYM rosters would be diving around absolutely everywhere. Libic would knock them all up in the air, and then just go, well, who do we want to kill today? Because they could dance and move around and just simply, pick and choose as they wanted.
And speaking of dancing around, actually, there was a replay I wanted to show you. Unfortunately, I got a bug spot on my side, but it was the bot lane fight where they're fighting for that second middle, or that second bottom, wow, I can't even talk, second bottom turret. And we saw Charu get engaged upon by Maluno. He dove into the backside, and Charu just dropped extremely quick. He got very low. We saw the Karthus ultimate come in, but something really funny happened. He ulted in because he's like, oh, I'm probably going to die. Might as well go back in. He ults into a Chain of Corruption out of Hosan, but it didn't really matter at that point. I mean, yeah, he was extremely strong, but Mackler, I mean, he had the items he needed. You saw him in that last fight when they were chasing him down. He was just, it was a 3v5 pretty much. They were just chasing, they were poking them as they, tried to disengage, and then came back in.
There was a very, very cheeky move from Maluno there. As they were running away, Mokate tried to throw the depth charge onto Nocturne. And I was like, that's not a good move. He just popped the spell shield down and he's like, thanks, bro, attack speed. So it was a good
for
play.
the buff, yeah.
Exactly.
So what are we thinking towards picks and bans for the next matchup between these guys?
There's, you guys touched on this, and I saw it really happen in this game about Charu. He always takes teleport, but there were so many times I noticed when he was actually just standing between Shushe and the minion wave, and he could have killed him so many times if he had an ignite. Like, he had the damage. He had Foxfire leveled up. He had his Orb Deception. He could have dove him so many times, but he didn't do it. And to me, that's something that maybe you might want to change. I mean, his teleport did work out a couple of times, but maybe if you change to Ignite, you shut Shushe down and you feed yourself enough that you can interact with the other lanes.
I'm trying to think about his teleports. They weren't as impactful in this particular series because of how mobile Ari is and because he was in the right place at the right time. So
there was, I think there was 2 teleports total. One was in the top side where he was able to pick up a kill, and then one was like into mid lane where he wasn't able to make anything happen and he had to just back off.
It just didn't have the same impact that it did with Jace.
But we should point out that Makata on Nautilus, it worked very well for him this time around.
Yeah, no, true. A different champion. Shen in games 1 and 2 just didn't really do all that much for him. His early game was particularly weak, and this time around, he got first blood along with Cubone in that top lane. So definitely feel like Nautilus is a stronger champion for him.
And what do we think about the fact that Shushi went with Karthus? That's the second time he's chose it now. Obviously, he got counterpicked really by Ari getting selected towards the end there. Much stronger champion. Do you think they could have switched the lanes around? And more importantly, do you think the fact that Yamato Cannon was 2v1, do you think they maybe could have forced to rotate again?
I think they could have. I don't know. Like, the Karthus ideally was pretty good because you had like a high damage lineup. You had the tankiness of Aurelia, the tankiness of Nocturne. But I think you're right. Maybe if you did play a different champion that wasn't so easily countered, it might have been a little bit more impactful because he had a hard time in lane. Like, Charu kept up, if not surpassed him in CS, was able to push him out of lane a couple of times. And
So
yeah, go ahead.
The thing with Karthus, you're 100% right. You expect to lose your lane, especially when you're coming up against a counter pick. But I felt that Shushe's positioning let him down in this game. When he played Karthus previously, he was always in and amongst the MYM members. All of Dragonborns were pushing together, being led by Yamato Cannon. And Shushe just got defiled on everybody in so many occasions. And I don't feel like he did it in this particular game. And I think that's partially because of Libic.
Yeah, exactly. I was about to say that. I think it's due to the lineup that MYM Makers had. They had a perfect composition to disengage. We saw it in the last fight. Like, they just ran away. Well, it was like 4v5. They ran away. You saw Libic letting the Grass Roots on every single member of Dragonborns. You saw the 90 caliber net, not to mention the traps, also the slow out of Nautilus, the cocoons. Like, they had a perfect composition to stop Shushe from getting into the low team unless he flashed, but then they could burst him down instantly.
Yeah.
So, game 4 is going to be coming up. What are we thinking? What are they going to select, and what bands are they going to go with?
Ari's being banned. There's not much doubt in my mind about that one. I think that Dragonborns, if they want to play some of these carries that are fairly squishy, they have to take it away from Charu. And Charu's going to have to find himself maybe another Xerath, another Ari that he can actually focus down and, get the rest of MYM on his shoulders.
Well, that's actually semi why Karthus is being taken away by Shushe, because it is something that Charu plays.
Yep.
And it also might be, like, you guys actually touched us in the game that Hosan, he picked up a kill bot lane when you saw the Karthus ulti come in, and he didn't even need to do it. And, of course, Shushe wasn't able to get the kill. He was up 3-0 when we talked about, getting all the kills on one target. But have you noticed that Hosan actually hasn't really lost his lane in these 3 games so far? Yeah. It's just, it seems to unfortunately
be... Move has stepped his game up.
Yeah, he has. And I actually talked about this quite a bit with Hosan, and I talked about it with Joe, and we always mentioned that he used to play the lane in LCS like it was a 1v2. He never played like it was a 2v2 situation. So that's why you never saw Mover and him really interact really well and play really well together. But with the boot campaign, it seems like they fixed that, and you've actually seen them do quite well in the lane. And talking about him always winning the lane, it seems to be that in the last game, Yamato Cannon won his lane quite hard. So did Hosan. it seems to be that Shushe, you know, if he can maybe pick up a couple of kills, maybe if he runs teleport to interact with the other lanes, they can get him fed as well. That's just really where the game came down to.
To be fair, he kind of was going for the kills, but
yeah, they got taken away
he used that ultimate, and Hosan took the kill.
Yeah.
So what do we think of that? I mean, is that miscommunication, or is that simply a case of it's better to have the kills on Hosan if you can get them?
I think it's always better on Karthus.
I think it was cockiness right there, that what happened with Hosan taking it.
3-0 after that gank and the play. I do feel like that was just Hosan going...
And he could have got the kill as well
yep.
on Limbic just like a couple of seconds later.
Yeah, because of the fight. It was on cooldown and he couldn't use it for up in that top lane and it didn't work out. So a little bit of miscommunication. I imagine the Dragonborns will be shaking that one off, talking about how it went and maybe asking themselves the same question. Like, Hosan, put the hairband back on. Relax. No more headbanging. I need some kills too.
Yeah. Tail that crazy pole, as I was calling him earlier on. But everybody, this is going to be Game 4 coming up shortly. We're going to go to a break. It's going to be Meet Your Makers. They are one game away from equaling off the series, or will the Dragonborns close the game out? We'll be back after this break.